So we're going to start this morning in child's pose. And because it's first thing in the morning, I'm going to use my trusty block underneath my head. If your knees are a bit tight, you could actually place this around the back and just change the angle for the knees and a little bit for the ankles as well, but mostly for the knees. And I'm going to use a hip distance stance for the knees, so it's quite tight in terms of how it works through the body. And I'm going to ease my head down onto the block so I don't have to reach down to the floor. And I'm going to take the arms out wider than the shoulders, arms facing down, elbows off the ground, but I'm not going to reach the shoulders forwards. I want to try and almost have the shoulder blades moving towards the back of the mat and the hands moving forwards. So the arms are straight, but the shoulders are not being overstretched. Now I'm going to breathe in gently through the nose and see if I can, first of all, breathe into the diaphragm, which is going to be compressed. So natural space for the air that you intake to go to will be more into the back of the ribs. I'm just going to be here for a couple of minutes. You can, if you wish, spread out the fingers a little bit so you can feel that nice stretch underneath the palm of the hands. Lift the fingertips up, spread the little finger and thumb as far apart as you can. Get a good stretch into the hands to wake them up. And then let them come back down to the floor. You may also feel a little bit of stretching in the glutes and the lower back, as well as the opening of the hip joints and knees and ankles. And then we'll let ourselves lift up. So we'll bring ourselves into position for cat-cow towards the front of the mat. Just roll the chest forwards, shoulders back, tilting the pelvis down, drawing the belly in, rounding through the spine, pressing into the hands again, getting a little bit more stretch into those fingers. Working our way through a few repetitions. Connecting in with your abdominal muscles. Starting to activate them. And then we'll come back into a neutral spine. Draw the abdominal muscles in and take the hands out into melting heart. So the hips stay over the knees. We press the shins down. We get a nice line between hands, shoulders, and hips. Tailbone back, hands pressed down. We want the muscles to be activated rather than sitting into joints. So we're not coming down as low as we possibly can. Keeping the spine nice and long. Just the equivalent of this would just be having the hands directly up towards the sky if we were in a standing position. One more breath here. And then we'll just walk the fingers in a little bit to push the hips back, alter the weight distribution a little bit as we bring the hands back in. Now we're going to spin the feet out to the side, take the legs forwards, feet plant on the floor, hip distance apart, knees are high, hands behind, fingers pointing forwards. Roll the shoulders back, press down into the floor to start to lift the chest towards the sky. And then we're going to lift our bottoms off the ground. Draw the bottom towards the heels a little bit, and then lift the hips up towards the sky into reverse tabletop. And we'll float back down. Come back into that starting position. Hands come back down to the floor, roll the shoulders back gently, lifting the chest. Bottom comes off the ground, we ease our way forwards, and then we lift. Try and keep the knees the same distance apart as the feet, so it's pointing in the same direction. And then we'll come down again slowly. And as we come back this time, we're just going to cross the ankles over, roll forwards onto the knees, bring the hands up to the front, untuck the toes, and we're into down dog. Just walking out the legs a little bit. See how that feels. And easing the hips back and up. So starting to get that lift in the belly. And we're going to take the feet as wide as the mat and come into a little Snoopy dog. We'll walk the hands in enough to get the heels onto the floor. And then we'll take the left hand over to the right leg, outside edge if possible, and turn the chest underneath. So we're turning the body towards the right side, 2 straight legs if we can, pressing the heels and the hand into the floor. And we'll bring our hand down to the ground and swap over to the opposite side. Oops. And we'll bring both hands to the floor and walk ourselves into a normal down dog. Just going to bring the knees down to the floor, sit back onto the heels for a moment, so getting a little bit of a toe stretch as well. And then we're going to lift ourselves at the back of the mat. Knees away from the floor. Hips come high into a forward fold, head drops down. Just make sure the feet are hip distance apart and parallel. And then we'll soften the knees for ragdoll. Ragdolling out, head and shoulders hang low. And we'll just ease the body up. As the head comes up, we'll take the arms out, palms together above the head, ribs down at that point. Exhaling, hinge forwards, take the weight into the toes a little, soften the knees. And as the fingers touch the floor, soften again, ready for that ragdoll. So you come as deep as you can. Lift up as slow as your breath allows. And ease the breath into the body, hands above the head. And we're exhaling down. And we'll ragdoll one more final time. And bring the hands in towards the heart. We'll shake it out a little bit, come up to the front of the mat. Hands into the heart again. Exhaling forwards. Hands to the floor. Step back with right and left into down dog. Come forwards into plank. Now we're going to come into a half plank. And we'll all let the knees come down to the ground, but press the knees into the floor. Inhale the chest up, roll the shoulders back, and then lift the hips back up into down dog. We'll take the right knee into the chest and bring the foot through. Step into the forward fold. Hands come onto the hips, and we lift up. Hands into the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Belly drawn in. This time left foot back, right foot back into our down dog. come forwards into the plank. Half plank, knees to the floor, pressing in. Shoulders back as we lift up for the up dog. And then roll through the spine, down dog. We draw the left leg in for lunge. And step forwards into the fold. Hands onto the hips and we lift up. Hands into the heart. Exhaling down to the ground. Stepping the right foot back into a deep lunge. And I'm going to lift into a crescent. So we'll bring the hands alongside the body. Lift the body, send the tailbone down. Keep the front knee over the ankle. Bring the hands in towards the heart, elbows out wide. We're going to rotate to the left. So that right elbow comes over. And we lift the chest from the floor, press out through the back heel. Belly drawn in. And we bring the hands to the ground. And we drop the heel in. I don't know if you can hear, but one of my alarms is working. Bring hands alongside the body. Right arm lifts up into warrior two. I'm not sure whether I should turn that off or not. Take a little breath, bring the hands high, and then rotate down to the floor. And we'll step back into plank this time. Come forwards into half plank. Up dog, knees off the ground this time. And back into down dog. We'll draw the right knee into the chest. Bring the foot through. Take a little breath and step into the front of the mat. Hands onto the hips and lift up. Hands into the heart. Exhaling down. Left foot goes back deep. Hands alongside the body. Draw the belly in as you lift. Draw the body up into vertical. Hands into heart. Elbows out wide. Rotate over to the right side this time. Really working out through that back leg to get it long. Hands to the floor. Drop the back heel in. We'll come into warrior two again. So left arm forwards and lifting up. Float the arms high. Down to the ground. Step back into plank. Half plank to up dog. Back into down dog. And then it's that left knee coming in for the lunge. Taking a breath. Stepping through. Hands onto the hips and we'll lift up. Hands to heart. Forward fold again. Remember, keep the weight into toes, soft knee. Fold in a little deeper each time. Right leg back into lunge. So we're going to bring the hands alongside the body again. Lift ourselves up, so tailbone down. Take the hands behind, interlace the hands together. Squeeze the shoulder blades back. And then try to lift the hands as high as you can behind you. As you keep your ribs down and the belly drawn in a little. So it's a reverse spine crescent pose. And then we'll release the hands down to the floor again, slowly. Drop the heel in. Come into warrior two, so that right arm comes forwards and we'll lift up. Float the arms high, rotate and lengthen out. Down to the floor, into our plank, half plank, up dog, and down dog. And we'll draw the right knee into the chest and bring that through for lunge. Little breath there. Exhale into the forward fold. Get a little deeper. Hands onto the hips and lift. We'll take that again. Second side, so exhaling down. The left foot back for the lunge. Hands alongside the body. Lift up. Take your hands, whoops, lost my balance there. Didn't quite make it. Hands behind. And then drawing the hands back a little bit. Belly drawn in. Shoulders squeezed together. We're still pressing out through the back heel. So that little stumble I had was where it rolled out onto the edge of my foot on the back. So you want to press the big toe joint down into the floor a little bit more. Last breath here. Hands to the floor. Drop the heel in, ready for warrior two. Alongside. Left arm lifts. Hands come high. Lengthen out down to the floor. Into our plank, half plank. Up dog. To down dog. And that final left knee coming through for lunge. And stepping into the forward fold. Hands on the hips. And we lift up. Hands come into the heart just for a small breather. And an opportunity for me to turn my alarm off. There we go. That'll be quieter now. Hands into the heart, up front of the mat. Exhale down to the floor. I'm going to take hold of the big toes with index finger and middle finger. Going to rest the ribs and thighs together. So start with a nice juicy bend in the knees. Let the head hang. Draw the elbows out wide to draw yourself gently more onto your thighs. And then start to press the feet down and the hips up. Try and keep the connection of ribs and thighs as they were. Release the fingers. I will step back into a down dog shape. And then into nice neutral position on all fours. We'll take cat cow again, a couple of rounds, just rolling through. You can make that a little more juicy if you wish. Take that into the rolling sideways version, the barrel rolls. And let the shoulders and elbows move around as much as you wish. So you can be as still in this as you want, or you can be as loose noodle as you want to be. We'll come back into neutral, roll the shoulders back, tuck the toes underneath, and hips and knees go back and up into that down dog. We'll take a three-legged scissor. So we're going to keep the hips square, straight leg, right side lifts, toes point out. One more breath. And we're going to sit down to the floor and take it the opposite side. So left leg lifts up. We try and keep the hips and shoulders square to the ground. We lengthen out through the toes. You can spread the toes a little, belly drawn in. bring that foot to the floor as well. We'll come back into all fours position, knees to the ground, and we'll float the left arm up towards the sky. We're going to thread the needle through, easing under, shoulder, ear to the ground. Now you can adjust the front hand to where it feels comfortable, but you're trying to roll your right shoulder over to the left side. So one way of doing that is to think about moving the shoulder. The other way is to think about your left bottom rib rolling over towards the right side and up towards the sky. So we get more rotation through the spine and you get more traction of moving the shoulder back by thinking about the shoulder. So those two things go hand in hand. We'll press back down into hand. Having said that, come back up onto all fours and we'll take the right arm up and open up the chest to the side and then float that underneath as well. So we aim for center line with the ear and the shoulder. We try to keep the hips in the same position. Sometimes when you come into this, you see people's hips moving out the opposite side to the twist. So you want to think about where your pubic bone is in relation to the center line. Quite a lot of things to think about. Remembering the shoulder and the ribs rolling around on each other. A couple more breaths. Just letting the twist form in the spine a little deeper. And then we'll press slowly on the exhale back up. Cool. Take a little breath from there, back into down dog. Allow yourself to walk the hands to your toes for forward fold. Hopefully the legs are opening up a little bit and we're getting a little deeper into the pose, pressing the feet down, the hips high, ribs and thighs, moving towards each other. And then we'll finally bring the hands onto the hips, roll the shoulders and elbows back, soften the knees a little bit to lift up. Knees our way up, shake it out again, walking up to the front of the mat. And the hands in towards the heart, a simple forward fold. Stepping back into down dog, but with the feet on the center line of the mat. And we're going to come into pigeon pose. So we'll draw the left knee in towards the body. So hold down dog shape, squeeze the knee in a little more, send the hips up and back. There's always space to be found. One more breath, and then we'll take the knee to the outside of that left wrist, bring the heel under the groin, and allow the right foot to walk back a little bit, rolling the shoulders. And keep the belly drawn in. Allow the hips to press down and square towards the front of the mat. So think about in this case, that left hip bone. You might need to draw that back a little bit and the right hip bone forwards a little bit to square the hips up just a fraction more. You press lightly into the back thigh and shin and glute laces. We lift the chest up, shoulders back, and the belly in. Take a last breath here, tuck the toe on the back foot, lift the knee gently, come back onto the center line into our down dog, and then draw the right knee in and we hold. We lift the hips back a little further, we get more space. And then we'll bring the knee forwards again, outside of that right wrist, shin to the floor. Walk the back foot as far back as we can. Send the hips down, square. Press through the back leg. Shoulders back. Try and relax them a little bit. Get the spine to do the lifting rather than the shoulders. So on the back foot, draw the belly in, and we'll lift ourselves back into that down dog. Last stretch out. Knees come to the floor. We can move into Dandasana. So bring the feet out to the side and let ourselves open up. So feet come back, sit up nice and tall, hands alongside the body. We'll take this into a twisted version. So I'm going to twist to the right, pressing the sitting bones down, pelvis forwards, a little press. So we take that roundness out of the lower back. And we'll move to the opposite side. Toes are still working, drawing back, lengthening out through those heels. And release from there. We'll take the block underneath the bottom. Allow ourselves to bring the left heel under for seated twist. So the right leg goes across high, tilt the pelvis forwards, lift the chest. Left arm lifts, come into the second twist. And then we release. We'll take it to the second side. Release from there as well. Now we're going to come down to the floor. I'm just going to move the block out of the way. Hands behind, knees high. Chin towards the chest, roll the spine down gently. We'll bring the feet in towards the center line and knees together. We'll take the arms out wide, crucifix style. Just take a moment to let the spine lengthen out. So you might want to kind of wriggle through the hips, the spine, and the back of the neck, just to get everything as long as you can. And then when you're ready, we'll take the legs over to the right side, go to the left. We're trying to keep the shoulders on the ground, palms nicely relaxed. And we'll just let that bottom leg sink down towards the floor. And then we'll start to flex both feet. So we turn the leg muscles in once they're in position. We'll release the feet and bring the knees back up. Come back into a nice alignment. And we'll do the same the opposite side. So we'll let the legs go out first. Find their natural position. Take a couple of breaths here to get nice and soft through the shoulders. And I'm going to flex both feet and spread the toes. And as those muscles start to contract from the flexion of the feet, we'll see if we keep the legs in the same place, or at least moving closer to the floor. Now, I interestingly enough get a tightening on the inner thigh of the upper leg on both sides once I've started to flex the feet. and that feeling isn't there when the legs are relaxed. So we definitely know we're working deeper into the stretch. And we'll release from there and let the legs come back up. And then we're going to move into bridge pose. So we're going to bring the hands alongside the body first, and we'll have the feet about hip distance apart. We can take the version where we bring the hands underneath the body, interlacing the fingers. So little finger is down to the floor, and then we compress really well into the arms and forearms and wrists to get a little more height. So we're just going to take one bridge, but we're going to hold it for a little while. So make sure your feet are in a good position. Usually the heels are slightly out. You draw the belly in, roll the lower back to the floor. As you feel the tailbone lift, you start to drive through the legs to lift up. Get a comfortable distance, allow the chest to move in towards the chin a little bit. Roll the shoulder blades underneath, bring the hands under you. Little finger tucked under, as we said, and then we're going to press down into the arms to open the chest. And we're also going to lengthen the knees away and the buttocks at the same time. So with height, we still want to respect the length of the body, so we're not compressing the spine and the lower back particularly, or the middle thoracic lumbar area. I'm just trying to get a little bit more extension in the upper thoracic area, the top of the rib cage behind the heart. And then to come down, we'll release the hands out. Roll the spine gently down to the floor. Spend a couple of moments there. And we'll begin to walk the feet out wide so the knees come together, keeping them high. We'll take the arms out wide as well. We're going to take a little breath. And then just let the legs roll over towards the right. And I'm going to take the head the same direction. Now I'm going to try to relax the bottom leg, but a little more active in the top leg, and try to bring that knee closer to the ground, if that makes any sense. Now, it's unlikely that that knee will touch the ground, but we're getting a little closer in. Now you'll feel that around the front of the pelvis a little bit, through the groins, outer ridge of the IT band area, perhaps. Bottom of the obliques. Lift the legs slowly back up. Bring ourselves center again. Make sure we're happy with where our legs are. And then we'll roll them over to the opposite side. Again, I'm going to take the head the same direction. And then when you're comfortable, start to engage the top leg and try to relax the bottom. It's easy to engage both legs or none at all, but trying to get one each to do different things is a little trickier. And on this side, trying to get my bottom leg to relax is more of a challenge. And then we release, and it should come back up. We'll take a moment there. We bring the hands back in. Just going to give ourselves a little bit of a hug. So wrapping the arms around the body, and fingers coming onto the inside edge of the shoulder blades. Make a note of which arm is on top. Roll the arms out and then bring them in the other way. See if you can get the fingers to the same place. One last breath here. And relax the hands out. As you bring them alongside the body, we'll draw the knees in for happy baby. So the knees come wide, feet together. We'll draw the chin in towards the chest so we can see what we're doing. Slide the fingers gently down around the outside edges. Hold the feet. We'll lay the spine back down again. Gently. Try and get that nice long neck. We'll take the one leg at a time approach to lifting the soles of the feet towards the sky. Might get a little bit of a roll going in through the spine as well. So trying to relax the shoulders, keep a nice long neck so the chin is in towards the throat a little bit, and actively drawing the tailbone down towards the floor. We'll release from there. Let the feet come to the floor, close them towards the bottom. And as we do, we draw the right knee in towards the chest, take the hands around the shin and lengthen the left leg out down the center line. Toes towards the sky, a little internal rotation. Send the tailbone down towards the front end of the mat as we let the right knee move towards the side of the ribs a little, and more into the armpit. We'll release that leg. Cross over to the other side. Bring that knee in gently. Get a nice connection with the hands around the shin. Lengthen out through the right leg. Internal rotation, fully flexed, toes are spread. Remembering to try and send the tailbone away actively. As you start to draw the knee out towards the ribs and more armpit direction. And we'll release from there as well. Bring both feet back in. We'll take the right leg to the sky with the hands around the back of the hamstring. And we'll just lengthen that leg towards the ceiling. So heel up, hip down, foot flexed. come to the floor. Take the other leg up. Let that foot come to the floor as well. And then I believe we're ready for Shavasana. So I'll scoot my block underneath the back of my head. Alongside the body, palms up. Slide the heels gently out to the corner edges of the mat. So we want to keep the body as relaxed as we can. So the drawing the heels along the floor in and out are quite key to keeping the body rested. And slowly let the shoulders relax down to the floor, closing the eyes, licking the lips. And we just breathe. Now try to relax the abdominal muscles and the lower back. And the glutes into the legs. Begin to stretch those fingers and toes. Breathing a little deeper, we start to move the wrists and ankles. We'll take it into a stretch, whatever that looks like for you this morning. When your instincts. And then we'll slide the heels along the floor. Bring the legs in and then ease the knees in towards the body. A final gentle hug, a rock, a roll, whatever feels good. Just as long as it's light and gentle and slow. And then we're rolling gently over to our right side, taking a breath in. And using the hands to gently press into the floor to lift up. Using ourselves into seated posture. Coming towards the heart as we take a breath in. Closing the eyes, we can begin to exhale, letting the chin drop and the belly draw in. Bowing gently to the floor, still our practice for the morning. And inhale, letting the spine lift up. Head follows, eyes open. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me this morning on the mat. See you again soon.